Hi, everybody. My name is Yvonne Dalorto from Pathways Coaching, and welcome to my Zoompod, which is a visual podcast. And today we're going to be looking at FOMO, which is the fear of missing out. So what is a Zoompod? A Zoompod is a resource, an evergreen resource that you can pause, stop, return to, and share with your friends. And the good thing about the Zoompod is that once you've completed the process, you may like to revisit it later on in a couple of weeks to see if you feel the same way about the conclusions that you've had today using this resource. So before we actually go on to the content, I'm just going to show you the tools that we are using today. And for today's Zoompod, we're using the visual coaching tools from Points of Us, Phototherapy, which allows us to use the image to resolve our resonating question or an issue that may be bothering us. As you can see from the card, we have a word. Not all the tools have words, but this one does, and it's only 10% of what you can see on the card. And also, what I'd like you to think about is how this image relates to you. I'm just going to show you a quick example of one of the coaching tools, which is Punctum. And what you can see here are the cards, the words, and here we have a question, and some of them have metaphors. And I'm going to go with the question that is in this example today, which is, what am I waiting for? So when we see the cards, I'm just going to briefly run through and how we use them. I'd like you to just think about what could have happened 30 seconds before and 30 seconds after. How does the card make you feel? What do you imagine you can hear? What emotion does it evoke? And if I think about the question and how this may affect me, what am I waiting for? I could possibly think that I feel like the bird, I'm up in the air. I haven't got a safe landing patch at the moment. Maybe I'm waiting for something, but the foundation is too narrow or it's not stable. If I look in the background, what do I want to bring with me? What do I want to leave behind? And we can see here in the corner that there is some vegetation. Maybe there's growth that I want to bring with me. Maybe there's something there worth investing in. But also, if I look at the corners of this card, I can see blurred patches that maybe I'm not quite sure where I want to go and what I want to do. But the curiosity is I've picked a card that goes well with the question, timing. Is the timing right? Or am I still up in the air like the little bird? So as you can see, we can apply the question to the image to come to our own conclusions. And the more you do these things, the better you'll become at seeing how using phototherapy can resolve the major questions you have in your life. So returning back to the content of FOMO. And what is FOMO? Fear of missing out. It's a time in our life when we can have increased dissatisfaction with our life. We also can develop a dishonesty in the way that we portray ourselves, our self-image. Or we can neglect our basic needs by spending so much time online. It can lead to a decreased level of concentration, and we're putting our personal privacy and image at risk. And we also tend to focus on the relationship with others and also have a judgment with them. We become very focused on gossip and how its negative connotations can affect us. And additionally, counting likes, how we manage in our posts, do we look good enough? And ultimately, switching off from work, which can lead us to invade our colleague's life. This takes up a lot of time within our life, our day, our months. So think about it. The fear of missing out, how much of this is consuming your daily life? We may consider that using social media is not a bad thing, and it is not. But what we have to recognize is where we can draw the line that it is part of our life or consumes our life. So I'd like you to just grab a pen. And the best thing about being a Zoompod is you can pause right now, get a pen, make up a little mind map, and get a notebook, pencil. And we're going to use the same process that I did with thinking about all the things that you fear of missing out of by not interacting with social media. Now, to help you with this process, as mentioned with the example earlier on, I'm going to give you some cards, and these are face up. I want you to go with the card that you're immediately drawn to. And then if you think I don't want it, ask yourself, why don't I want that card? I was immediately drawn to it. Why don't I want it? Stick with it and see where it goes. Use the same process. Look at that card. Look at the word. What could have happened 30 seconds before or 30 seconds after? How does that card fit in with my mind map or things I've jotted down about what I fear? What do you fear? Now think about the question. Fear of missing out. What do I fear? Good thing about the Zoompod is you can pause right here and spend as much time as you need looking at the card to answer your question. Maybe you can connect it to the word on the card. And once you've completed your list, hit the button and resume with the Zoompod. So welcome back, and it'll be interesting when you look at your list how many things you came up with and what do you fear by not interacting on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, WhatsApp, the groups. And let's move on now to FOMO versus JOMO. And maybe this is something you've heard of. And the fear of missing out versus the joy of missing out. So you may remember this from the earlier slide. And we're going to look at the positive things now about our list. And this is a list that's just an example. What are my friends doing? Yeah, it's really, really interesting to know what my friends are doing, but am I becoming obsessed with it? Is it affecting me because I'm worried that I'm not doing the same and may not fit in? Am I not developing my own interests because I'm focusing on them too much? Maybe it's time to forget FOMO and focus on JOMO. So what are my friends doing? Yes, it's interesting. Do I need to know every hour what they're doing? Probably not. There's more things I can be doing. Am I trying to develop an interest, a hobby, or have time for myself? Gossip. Gossip is a very natural thing to us as humans. We like to know what's going on. We like to hear. We like to involve ourselves. But again, it can become very dangerous when gossip tends to invade our life. And also, we take it personally. So what would be the joy of not getting involved too much with gossip? Think about what your benefits may be. Switching off from work is becoming increasingly harder because we are contactable with WhatsApp and messages. And additionally, as I mentioned earlier, perhaps looking at what our colleagues are doing, what their life is doing. Are we envious? Are we jealous? Are we gloatful? So again, switching off from that work area is highly important. Why? Why would that be important? And again, another example. How many likes? How many posts? How is my self-image in my messages? How many selfies did it take to look right? How much time is this taking up? So again, think of the joy of missing out. What do you get back? We're going to be using the same process with a different question. The joy of missing out. What do I gain? Again, I invite you to go with the card that immediately shouts at you. Think about what's happening in that card 30 seconds before and 30 seconds after. Look at the colors. What sounds do you imagine? What smells, tastes? What can you hear? What can you taste? What can you smell? And also look at the word. What would happen if we put a no in front? Can you use any of the letters to make another word? And use that image along with your previous list from FOMO to look at JOMO. What do I gain? And when you have completed the process with your mind map or list, think about how you can find a balance between both things. It would be illogical to say that we have to cut out social media from our life totally, as it's part of our life. But what is happening is we're crossing a dangerous line where we are spending more time on social media than interactions with real people. We are not developing our emotional intelligence and also our understanding of how people are. It's very easy to switch off, literally, when we are online and not communicate. So I hope you enjoyed this little session. The Zoompod is, as I mentioned, an evergreen resource that you go back to. But what I invite you to do with today's process is when you've looked at FOMO and JOMO and you have something in the middle that you can take away with you, is how are you going to put that into a plan within 24 hours or 7 days or 21 days so that you have something that you can work with. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this podcast and I look forward to seeing you again in the next one, which will be shortly. Bye for now.